What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to Mainly Movies, the channel where we talk about, well, mainly movies. So today in this video I just wanted to kind of share with you my my film journey, the way from start to now, basically, of how I got into films, the films that I kind of got introduced to along the way, that kind of made me look at things differently, and yeah. I highly encourage you to do the same thing in the comments if you guys want to share your journey, and maybe we have some of the same movies that that got us into film, and yeah. But anyway, let's get right into it. So first of all, I just want to start off with a little bit about myself, because I haven't really done that on my channel, but I was born in 2001, August 31st, 2001, in Australia, and I didn't really have any problems in it as a child. You know, I am the youngest child of 4 kids. Nobody really in my family has a massive film understanding. That nobody in my family is much of a film enthusiast. They kind of just watch movies for entertainment, and that's completely understandable. But growing up as a kid, my father did take me to the movies quite often. We used to go on the weekends a lot. It would usually be me, my brother, and my father. And yeah, we would end up going, or sometimes we'd go as a family, and yeah. And the kind of beginning of it all, I should say, is when I think it was 2005 or 6, when Peter Jackson's King Kong came out. I remember seeing that in the theaters, and I just remember being blown away by that film, just by how, I mean, I don't even remember blinking during the film. I just remember being glued to the screen the whole film. You know, I remember being scared of the native scene, but like, I mean, even I was just so enthralled by it all. This giant journey. I just remember I hadn't, up until that point, I hadn't seen a film that kind of big before, and that's kind of what really, and I remember seeing it at a massive theater, and that was I guess what kind of started it all. And then cut to a few years later, or even the same year, I'm not sure, when The Dark Knight came out. I remember seeing that opening night. I remember when the ads were going beforehand, people were just talking, and I remember thinking, oh no, they're not gonna stop talking during the film. But as soon as that opening scene came on, everybody was just silent, when, you know, it just shows the camera panning towards that building. And I thought that, you know, that was when I was glued to the screen. And Batman, the Christopher Nolan Batman films, all saw those, and they were really good. But up until that point, there was a time where I kind of wanted to become an actor. There was because of those movies. I remember a lot of people, you know, they used to, like at school, they always used to come to me for like what movies to watch. But up until that point, I was very, like, I was only aware of the big mainstream blockbuster films. So because I used to see them a lot, because growing up, my father had kind of, I guess you can say, he got tired of watching like kids films, because he had to deal with that a lot with my 3 other siblings, who were all older than me. So by the time it came around to me, I guess he just kind of let me watch a lot of like 80s action films. I just watched those growing up. Like, I watched Rambo, I watched Terminator, I watched all these. I mean, I did watch kids films eventually, but you know, it'd always be funny because at school kids would come up to me and they'd, you know, oh, like during the school holidays, what movies did you watch, you know? And they would say like Despicable Me 2 or something like that, and you know, I'd be saying like, oh no, I watched Expendables 2 or Expendables 3 or something. So, you know, like, I was brought up sort of like that, and I mean, I enjoyed watching those movies, and then, you know, obviously I went to see like Spider-Man 2, oh, I didn't see Spider-Man 2, but Spider-Man 3, which now I look back on isn't the greatest film, but, you know, and like Iron Man, the first Iron Man, I remember being like really big. and yeah, like I just kind of got brought up like that. I remember we had this massive DVD collection down in our back room, and I remember just like always just going through that and watching all like different films, but then rewatching a whole bunch. Like I used to rewatch Conan the Destroyer. I don't know why it was that one specifically, but it was that one I watched over and over and over again, and yeah, so there was that movie. I watched the Terminators. I watched the Rockies. Oh, the Rockies were big in this household, so we'd watch Rocky a lot, and yeah, Rocky, Terminator, just all those 80s action films. I'd even watch some more like obscure ones, well, they're probably not obscure, but you know, like Raw Deal or Red Heat, the Schwarzenegger films, and yeah, and a lot of Van Damme movies as well. So yeah, I'd watch a lot of those. And you know, up until this point, I always kind of got my friends, and we'd always like grab our iPods or something and make like short little films. We'd get like little editing apps on our phone, and we'd splice them together and just make one. I remember once we made this like kind of like found footage horror film, and I remember it was like the first movie we ever made that was 20 minutes long, and I just remember being like, we've made a film that's 20 minutes long, this is crazy, you know, like this is almost like feature length, but obviously it wasn't. It was nowhere near feature length, but it was the excitement that kept us going, and to this day I still try and make as many films with friends as possible, trying to, because I mean that is my goal. I would love to be a filmmaker. I try to make films. At the moment it's quite hard because of timing. People have jobs, there's things that I've got to do, there's things they got to do, so you know, it's all very hard, but yeah, you know, it's worth it. Once you complete a task, it's worth it. When you look back on it and you see how much fun you had working on it, and all the struggles that you had, you can just say like, you know, I actually finished that, I got past it. But anyway, we basically, yeah, we've gotten through all that. I watch a lot of mainstream movies. I used to muck around as kids, and we used to like make little action films and stuff. It wasn't until I'd say 2014, I think it might have been 2015. I was 14 years old. Was the first time I saw Nicholas Winding Refn's Drive. I know a lot of people say like, oh, that's like the basic film for, you know, getting into film. But I mean, it is such a terrific film to start off with, because I was in the minority of thinking that movie was going to be like Fast and Furious but with Ryan Gosling, and I just remember like I wasn't that excited watching it, because I remember hiring it at the DVD store, and that's another thing as well. I loved going to the DVD store as a kid, picking up new things and watching some of the old classics that I never got to see before. Mainly 80s action films I'd look for. I'd go into the action section and look for things. There's always like rip-off movies, like the rip-off Indiana Jones or something. I'd always end up watching those. But yeah, it was Nicholas Winding Refn's Drive, and I just remember being absolutely blown away by the end of that film, because it was completely different from what I was expecting. 10 times better. It's still one of my favorite movies of all time. There was a point where it was my favorite movie of all time, and then until a couple years later, or a year later, I remember watching the next film that really shook me, which was Peter Weir's Dead Poets Society. That film was absolutely incredible. That's another film that's still on my favorites list. And it's absolutely brilliant, that film. I love Dead Poets Society. I actually rewatched it a couple of nights ago, or a couple of weeks ago, with a friend of mine who hadn't actually seen it before, and it was just so great to revisit that movie. It's well, I wouldn't say it's fun, but it's a very, you know, it's an emotional film, but it's also really great, and I guess you can say you learned a little bit by watching that movie. I learn a bit every time I watch it, but yeah, that's another film. But going back to Drive, I remember like after that movie, I just clapped, because there was nights where sometimes I'd get left alone by myself each night, because sometimes my parents would go out or something like that, and you know, so I'd be left alone, or I'd be left with my brother or something, and I'd just watch movies, you know. I'd find my collection, or I'd ask if I could hire a movie for the weekend, and from the DVD store, and usually my parents would say yeah, and that's how I remember as I got older, about that age when I got into high school, both my parents, like my mum was, when I was growing up, she was strict as to what I was watching, but I remember when I got to about the age of 14 or 15, it wasn't really, I guess they thought I was mature enough to watch a lot of the movies, and I remember hiring the movies like Seven, and what else? I watched Drive a lot. Django I remember watching that. Yeah, I just hired a whole bunch of movies, and I'd watch them over the weekends. But then on the weekends I'd also like just watch movies that I never really got to watch as a kid that were always in the collection, like Harold and Kumar, just like a lot of like raunchy comedies. Like I still have like a guilty pleasure for all the American Pies, hence why I have 1 to 3 on Blu-ray. But you know, just yeah, those movies. But then there was always films that I heard about, like classic films, as I went along to about now, which it wasn't only until I think like last year or the year before when I actually first got into Criterions, and that's yeah, and that's where we get to now, where I just like classic cinema now. It's a thing that hence why I got the Cinema Classic series, because Cinema Classic series isn't just me talking about like old films. It's also a series where I'll be talking about a classic film that I just watched for the first time, because growing up I never got to watch really many of like these sort of films, like the classic Hollywood films or like foreign films. I never got to really watch those films. It's not only up until now when yeah, that's just why I love film, because there's so much more to it than, you know, these big Hollywood blockbusters. And it's so good, you know. Like my favorite movies, like if you look on Letterboxd, the link will be the link to my account will be down below, but if you look at my Letterboxd, I have a list of, I think it's my top 31 movies of all time, and I always just keep adding to it because I'm watching all these great films every now and then. But you know, I was talking about Drive and Dead Poet Society being my favorites. They've moved up on the list because I've seen more films that have kind of inspired me. I think my top 5 or top 4 at the moment is, my number 1 is 12 Angry Men, beautiful film. My number 2 is A Woman Under the Influence by John Cassavetes. Number 3 is Magnolia by PTA, and which I'm probably going to do a video on that very soon because I love Magnolia. And the last one, the 4th one, is Eraserhead. These are all movies that I kind of watched within the same kind of time as each other, because, you know, all of a sudden it's like this new, these whole new, it almost feels like new films coming towards me, but you only just hear about them. All these classic cinema, you know. It was only because I'd got Punch Drunk Love on Criterion, and that was mainly due to Adam Sandler. Then I got introduced to PTA from that film. I went back, I watched Boogie Nights, although I'd seen Boogie Nights before. I didn't know it was PTA though. Went back, watched Boogie Nights. Then I watched There Will Be Blood. Then I watched Hard 8. Then I watched Magnolia, which blew me away, and that's when and the only one I've seen The Master and Phantom Thread. The only one I haven't seen at the moment is Inherent Vice, but that will hopefully change soon. But no, I am a big PTA fan, and I love his films. He's still one of my favourite directors of all time, as well as Sidney Lumet. I don't know if it's Lumet or Lumet, but one of them. Sidney, I'm just going to go with Sidney Lumet. Like 12 Angry Men, A Network, all those movies are really great. Serpico, The Fugitive Kind, they're all great films. So yeah, and I'm also getting into Japanese cinema as well. I watched Tokyo Story, the Ozu film. It was absolutely fantastic. Yesterday I just went to see Peninsula, which is the sequel to Train to Busan, which I'm going to do two separate reviews on Train to Busan and Peninsula. But yeah, I mean, it's great. I mean, even though they're not Japanese cinema, they're Korean, obviously. But you know, just I'm getting more into foreign films as well as like European, like French and Russian and stuff like that. I'm getting into those kind of movies as well, and it's just also beautiful to see other cultures and religions and belief just by watching their kind of films. So it's great. But yeah, that's just my journey. From Drive to now, it's just been all the cinema classics, trying to gain as much information. You know, I feel like film schools are great. I mean, I've never been to one personally. I would love to go to one, but I also think that watching films is a way to, you know, make films, you know, get inspired by. If you watch the Criterion Closet Picks videos, they talk about how like all these films inspired their films, and that's just by watching those films, watching those movies, and gaining information from the filmmaker through interviews and supplements and stuff like that. So I guess that's another way to inspire yourself and to gain information about making films. But anyway, guys, thank you for watching the video. This was a really fun video to make, just sharing my my journey with you guys. And if you want to share your journey in the comments, please do so as well. Another thing I wanted to talk about. Also, I want to thank you all for watching my videos. But there's one video that I wanted to address. That is my Criterion Collection video, and I want to address that because of just the amount of support and love that video got by you guys. You guys are awesome. I mean, I got a whole bunch of comments, which I'm going to read off some of them. But I'm gonna read off some of the people, but one of them in particular, which was from a YouTube channel that I've been watching for a while, and it was so great to get a comment from them. It was absolutely beautiful, and that's Amateur Filmies. The link to their channel will be in the description below. They are awesome. Those guys are great. Matt and Sarah from Amateur Filmies, if they're watching this, hello. Absolutely incredible to get a comment from them. Sean Gallagher, Joe Vonnegut, I'm sorry if I mispronounced that, and Oirich Entertaiment, I'm sorry if I butchered that as well. But all these wonderful comments that I got was so great to see, and all of you guys sharing your 50% off Barnes & Noble sales was incredible, and just your film journey was awesome. But so thank you guys for that so much, and yeah, definitely check out Amateur Filmies, and it's just so great to see all that, and it really made me happy. It was really good. So I wanna thank everybody for that, and just thank everybody for, if you've left a comment on my videos before and I haven't actually talked about it, thank you very much for leaving a comment. Thank you for liking the videos if you've ever liked one of my videos, and just thank you for watching as well. It means a lot to me as well, and yeah, it's great to actually know that people watch these videos. It's incredible, and it inspires me to keep going. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like and subscribe, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. So stay tuned. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.